Unknown Authors presents The Arcadian Hotel. This episode contains adult language that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Please listen carefully.
Are we all here? Well, welcome to Camp Stormgate. I'm your guide, you can call me Lizzie, and I'm so excited for our welcome campfire. Now, I'm seeing a lot of unfamiliar faces, so let me explain how the night will go. We'll go around the circle, introduce ourselves, and tell a scary story. It can be anything. I've heard it all here, from ghosts to monsters to creepy neighbours. So, who wants to start us off?
I'll go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, well, hi everyone. My name's Liam, and my story starts about a month ago. When I first saw the job listing, I thought it was a scam.
Night attendant needed. Historic Arcadian Hotel. Must be reliable, detail-orientated and trustworthy. Pay £500 per shift.
The rate sounded unreal. Too good to be true, but too good to pass up, especially considering my dwindling bank account. The email response arrived less than a day after I applied. They attached a quick questionnaire, then sent a brief email confirming that I'd been hired and was expected to report that night. The day before my shift, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Inside, a small brass key, along with a second envelope containing a cheque for £500 and a handwritten note.
Congratulations, and welcome to the Arcadian family. Enclosed is your master key. You'll need this key to let yourself in and access certain parts of the hotel. Enter through the main doors by 10 p.m. Your first shift begins promptly at 11 p.m. Training will be available in the back room behind the front desk. Please watch all the training materials before starting your shift. We appreciate your commitment to rebuilding the legacy of the Arcadian.
Curious, and admittedly a little nervous, I made my way to the hotel that night. The Arcadian was just as I'd imagined. The exterior was a fading memory of elegance. Worn stone walls with crumbling edges, tall windows with elegant exterior spotlights that no longer worked. I glanced at the clock on my phone. 9:45. I had time. The hotel's lobby was huge, dominated by a grand staircase. Dust layered every surface and the faintest whiff of mildew hung in the air. I took a breath, suppressing a shiver, and walked towards the front desk. Behind it was a small door labelled staff only. This must be where they wanted me to watch the training. Inside the staff room, I found a TV set atop a rolling cart and a row of numbered VHS tapes stacked next to it. The first tape had a label on it in looping script. Next to it was a sheet of paper with instructions. I slid the first tape into the VHS player and turned on the TV. The screen flickered, a hum crackling through the speakers, and then it jumped to life. A video came up which looked in rough shape like it was a copy of a copy. A cheerful woman in a sharp 1950s suit stood in front of a pristine version of the lobby I'd just walked through.
Welcome to the Arcadian family. We are delighted to have you on board as a steward of one of London's finest luxury establishments.
Her tone was light, upbeat, but she had a strange way of pausing, just momentarily, between each sentence to smile.
Let's begin with a few simple rules to keep our guests safe and happy. Remember, our guests may at times be unique, but they deserve the utmost courtesy and the finest of service. Now, please follow these essential guidelines.
The first few videos went over the basics. Instructions on how to clean, address guests, check-ins and check-outs, when to check the guest log and where to find supplies. But on the final video, things took a turn for the strange.
Congratulations on making it to the end of your training. Attaboy. Now, let's cover a few final essentials to keep our guests smiling and keep you right as rain. Listen close now. These pointers are really important. Rule number 1. If the elevator takes you to the basement, do not be alarmed. Simply close your eyes and stand still until it moves back up. No peeking.
The woman chuckled in a practiced, rehearsed way, as though she'd been told to laugh but wasn't sure why. My stomach twisted at her words. The basement? Why would the elevator just take me to the basement?
Rule number 2. If you find a guest wandering the halls between 2 and 4 a.m, gently escort them back to their room. Under no circumstances should you allow them near the front doors. Use a firm hand if needed. If they seem upset, simply assure them that it will all be over soon.
A chill ran through me. What kind of guests would be staying here anyway? The hotel wasn't even open. I tried to shake off the unease.
Rule number 3. Do not look into the mirrors after midnight. Our mirrors sure are something else. We wouldn't want you to become disorientated. Rule number 4. Every night, count all the keys on the board. Make sure all the keys are accounted for. Most importantly, there should always be 4 keys marked for the 10th floor. If one of those keys are missing, lock up the lobby doors, turn off the lights, and wait behind the front desk until dawn. Do not attempt to look for it.
10th floor? I thought. The hotel doesn't even have 10 floors.
Rule number 5. Now listen closely, folks. If a gentleman with a yellow umbrella comes in asking, "Do you have a vacancy?" you must reply, "I'm sorry, we have no vacancy." No matter how upset he gets, stay calm and cheerful. That's the way to keep things running smoothly. Rule number 6. Attention, night owl. If you find that key 309 is missing at the start of your shift, here's what you do. Whip up a ham and cheese sandwich, gather those supplies from the kitchen, then head on over to room 309 and give them a polite knock. Remember, don't make eye contact. Just hold out that plate and wait until you hear the door close before you step away. Rule number 7. Now let's talk about Ronald, our cleaning ace. He'll waltz in and say, "I'm here to clean the mess," to which you'll unlock the custodian closet and let Ronald take it away. If he doesn't give you that magic phrase, simply say, "No cleaning tonight, Ronald," and don't forget to lock the doors tight after he leaves. That's how we keep everything shipshape. Last but not least, rule number 8. Now listen up, friends. It's important you remember this. Never, and I mean never, enter the management office. If you happen to find the door slightly ajar, just keep on walking and mind your own business. And if you hear any particular sounds coming from inside, don't let the curiosity get the better of you. Simply carry on with your tasks. We want to keep everything peachy keen around here.
What the fuck? I thought.
That concludes our training. You are now ready to head on out there and knock it out of the park. Thank you again for your commitment to the Arcadian legacy.
Finally, I switched off the TV. By then, it was a little after 11 p.m, so I made my way to the front desk to get a feel for my new workspace. The first part of the night was uneventful. The Arcadian was silent except for a soft hum. I completed the tasks in the handbook they'd given me, accounting for all the keys, sweeping the lobby, wiping down the desk. It was eerie, but manageable. I settled in behind the front desk, scrolling through my phone and waiting for the night to pass by. At around 1:30, the front door of the hotel opened. An old man shuffled into the lobby. He wore a faded custodian uniform that looked like it had seen better days, and I could barely make out the name tag reading Ronald as he drew closer. He moved slowly, his feet dragging slightly on the worn carpet, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I knew I had to wait for him to say the phrase that would confirm he was here for his nightly duties. When he finally reached the desk, he looked up at me with weary eyes and said,
"I'm here to clean the mess."
A wave of relief washed over me as I realised he said it. I quickly unlocked the custodian closet, my hands trembling slightly as I fumbled with the keys. As he pulled out his cart, filled with an assortment of cleaning supplies and tools, he glanced at me, almost amusingly, and asked,
New here?
"Yeah, it's my first night. Any tips?"
Stick to the rules and you'll be just fine, kid.
He said, before turning back to his cart. He wheeled it towards the elevator, the cart rattling softly behind him. As he stepped inside, the doors closed with a quiet thud, leaving me alone again. Ronald's words did little to ease my nerves. I was still trying to figure out what those rules might really mean, and why seemingly mundane rules would be so important to follow. When I returned to my desk, I noticed almost immediately a space on the key rack. A key was now missing, the key to room 309. Panic rose in my chest as I rifled through the key rack again, hoping it was just hiding among the others. I had barely left the desk for more than a minute. Had someone come in while I was with Ronald? Or had I just missed it during my last count? I quickly pulled out my notes, scanning for the rule about the ham sandwich. There it was. If key 309 is missing, bring a ham and cheese sandwich to the room and knock, avoiding eye contact. I sighed, resigning myself to follow the rule. Heading into the kitchen, I was surprised to find it fully stocked, despite the hotel's long period of inactivity. I quickly gathered the supplies and assembled a ham sandwich, placing it carefully on a plate. With the plate in hand, I took a deep breath and headed for the elevator. The fluorescent lights flickered as I pressed the button for the third floor, and I felt a twinge of unease as I rode up. When the doors opened, I walked down the hallway, the carpet muffling my footsteps. I approached room 309 and knocked gently on the door, my heart racing. I heard shuffling inside, and after a moment, the door creaked open. I instinctively lowered my head, avoiding any eye contact. A figure stood in the doorway, reaching out to take the plate from my hands. They lingered there for an extra moment, as if waiting to see if I would look up. I kept my head down, my heart pounding in my chest. After a tense pause, the figure shut the door quietly, leaving me standing in the dim hallway, a chill running down my spine. I let out my breath, realising now that I had been holding it. I turned and walked away, the feeling of being watched weighing heavily on me. I got in the elevator, feeling relieved to head back to the safety of my desk. What is with all these rules anyway? What kind of hotel is this? Questions raced through my brain as I took the ride back down to the lobby. The elevator descended, and as it approached the lobby, I got closer to the doors, anticipating my exit. Only, it didn't stop. It kept going down. Panic washed over me as I realised what was happening. The basement. I desperately smashed my hand against the buttons, hitting any floor that would possibly bring me back up. But the elevator didn't stop. Forcing myself to calm down, I remembered the rules, and I shut my eyes tightly, clenching my fists at my sides. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened, unleashing a rush of cold air that sent a shiver down my spine. The damp, musty smell filled my nostrils. I stood there, back against the wall, heart pounding, waiting anxiously to see what would happen next. Then, I heard something. Something moving, slow and deliberate, getting closer. The smell hit me like a punch to the gut. It It was a sickening blend of rot and decay that seemed to wrap around me, making it hard to breathe. The elevator creaked, and I felt it move slightly, as if something heavy, very heavy, had entered it. I could feel it, whatever it was, right there, right against me, hovering right in front of my face. My pulse was racing, and tears began to stream down my face. I could feel it staring at me, like a predator waiting, praying for me to open my eyes. Just then, the doors dinged again, and I felt myself moving back upward. I slowly opened my eyes to find the doors now open, looking back out to the lobby and the grand staircase. I ran out of the elevator, ready to rush out of the front doors and quit on the spot. But that's when I noticed it. Dawn was breaking outside and a new envelope was sat on top of the desk. Hesitantly, I opened the envelope, sniffling like a child and wiping the tears from my face. Inside the envelope was another £500 cheque and a note.
Great job on your first shift. As a thank you, we've included your pay up front for tomorrow night. If you choose not to return, feel free to keep the cheque as a courtesy from us, but we hope you do return. You're a valuable addition to the Arcadian Hotel family. Management.
I took the cheque and left the hotel, fully convinced I would never return. That was last night. Back home, I've paced my small apartment all day, the cheque burning a hole in my pocket, and the sunlight giving me a sense of security. I wanted to quit. The nightmares and anxiety of last night are too much. But then I thought about my bills, my empty fridge, the weight of my loans. I've been staring at this cheque, the memory of Ronald's words echoing in my mind.
Stick to the rules, and you'll be just fine, kid.
Maybe I can figure it out. Maybe I can endure just a little longer. I've resolved to return to the hotel. I will follow the rules, keep my head down and stay focused on the prize. Tonight, I will walk into that hotel again, ready to face whatever horrors await me. The money is too enticing to walk away from. And maybe I can even find out whatever is going on with the Arcadian Hotel. After all, it's just a job, right? Working these night shifts has my mind in knots, with every night bleeding into the next until I can barely remember what day it is. I've seen things that don't add up, things I can't explain away. And yet, here I am, showing up night after night. I want to quit, but I've made more money in the past few nights than I have working an entire 2 weeks out of the jobs. Night 2 was mostly uneventful. Ronald made his usual appearance. Same dull uniform, same shuffle to the front desk, and repeating the right phrase. I tried to stay out of his way, and everything seemed calm, until I noticed that key 309 was missing again. Sticking to the rules, I made my way to the kitchen. It was still stocked with fresh ingredients, which I still can't wrap my head around. Who's restocking this stuff? Shaking it off, I made a simple ham and cheese, then took the elevator up to the 3rd floor. The ritual continued as usual. I knocked, kept my gaze down and waited. The door creaked open, and this time, The person lingered in the doorway longer than before, like they were waiting for me to make eye contact. I held my ground until I heard the door shut slowly. On my way back, I skipped the elevator altogether. No way was I risking a detour to the basement again. I took the stairs instead, counting each step down, hoping nothing else would happen. After night 2 ended without any major surprises, I felt a spark of confidence. Just follow the rules, take the stairs down, don't overthink it. Maybe this gig was simpler than I thought. By the time night 3 rolled around, I showed up feeling a lot more assured. Already £500 richer and convinced I'd cracked the code. I had this in the bag, or so I thought. But as soon as I settled in for my shift, it became clear that night 3 had other plans for me. Not long after I started my shift, Ronald made his entrance. I felt a bit relieved to see him. There was something reassuring about having someone else around, even if he wasn't exactly chatty company. But that night, Ronald seemed different. His uniform looked freshly pressed, like he'd actually taken care to look sharp, and his usual sluggish walk had turned into a brisk stride. When he reached the desk, he looked at me with a strange grin and said,
It's time to get this place spick and span.
I froze. Ronald had always said the same phrase without fail. My mind scrambled, trying to remember what the rules said about this. He kept staring, his grin unwavering, eyes locked on me like he was waiting for something. Then it hit me. No cleaning needed tonight, Ronald. As soon as I said it, his smile fell, his expression darkening. Through gritted teeth he repeated his phrase.
It's time to get this place spick and span.
With adrenaline beginning to pump through my body, I repeated with a shaky voice. No cleaning needed tonight, Ronald. He finally backed away, slowly, staring at me with hatred until he reached the door. I waited until he was gone and locked it tight behind him. After Ronald left, I stood there, my pulse hammering as I tried to process what had just happened. What the hell was that? Ronald's strange behaviour, his creepy demeanour, wide smile, fresh clothes, what was wrong with him? What's wrong with this whole place for that matter? I thought I had things figured out, but now I wasn't so sure. I began to question if I'd really be able to handle whatever else this hotel had in store. That confidence I'd felt at the beginning of the night was fading fast. That night, I decided it was time to get a better sense of this place. The rules and strange encounters had thrown me off balance, and I thought that maybe exploring a bit would help me make sense of it all. Armed with my master key, I left the desk behind and wandered down the corridors. Being the only person in a giant hotel felt unnatural, the silence broken only by the sounds made by my feet. I passed rows of tarnished brass fixtures and faded wallpaper, remnants of a once grand elegance that had long since slipped away. On the second floor, I found the ballroom, a huge echoing space that seemed frozen in time. Dust coated every surface and a once sparkling chandelier hung above, its crystals now clouded and covered in cobwebs. I ran my hand along the edge of a table covered in a fine layer of dust, my fingers leaving tracks as if no one had touched it in a decade. For a moment I tried to imagine what the place must have looked like in its prime. Just as I turned to leave, I heard a sound on the other side of the room, by the bar. I turned around, half expecting someone or something to be waiting behind me. But there was nothing. I slowly backed out of the room with an intense feeling of being watched. As I continued my tour, I noticed that most rooms unlocked easily with my master key, but a few doors, oddly, wouldn't budge. I tried the key, jiggling it and pushing, but it was as if these doors were meant to stay closed, resisting every attempt to pry them open. As I moved up to the 7th floor, I passed by a particular room that made me stop in my tracks. I could hear a soft voice from within the room. I froze, heart pounding as I leaned in to listen. The voice was faint but unmistakable. Someone was inside. As I was straining to hear it, the voice abruptly stopped. My breath caught. I took a step back. every instinct screaming at me to leave. As I backed away, I heard heavy footsteps approach the door and stop. Looking at the door, I couldn't help but feel like whoever it was looking at me through the peephole. I thought I saw the doorknob twitch, just the faintest movement as though someone inside was reaching for it. Nope, I told myself, and I hurried down the hall, leaving the floor entirely. I tried to convince myself it was my imagination, but either way, I had no desire to stick around and find out. After exploring the 8th floor, I made my way up to the 9th, which looked just like the others, dimly lit and lined with old doors. The thought of a long journey down the stairs back to the lobby loomed ahead, but it felt like a welcome return to familiarity. As I turned my head towards the stairwell, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in a mirror mounted on the wall. Looking at myself in the mirror, I couldn't help but notice how tired and beat down I looked. As I was examining myself, almost looking at myself with pity, I saw something else in the mirror. A figure standing far behind me at the other end of the hall, peeking at me from around the corner. My stomach dropped, a cold knot tightening in my gut as fear washed over me. I whipped around, heart racing, but the hallway was empty. I turned back to the mirror, my breath hitching in my throat. And there it was again, the figure still there peeking at me from around the corner. It was too far down the hallway to make out any of its features, but it was unmistakable. Suddenly, I remembered the rule.
Don't look into any mirrors after midnight.
Checking my phone, there it was, 1:23 a.m. I burst through the doors of the stairwell and made my way down the 9 flights of stairs as quickly as I could. Finally back at my desk, I sank into the chair, my heart still racing and my breath heavy from the frantic descent down the stairs. The hours crept by slowly, but the rest of the night was thankfully uneventful. Relief flooded over me as I thought about the safety of the morning outside and another night successfully in the books. As I was turning to leave, though, I noticed something. An error. A mistake. Key 309 had been missing, and I never noticed. I never brought the guest of room 309 a ham sandwich. Yet with morning breaking and my shift officially over, I shrugged it off, telling myself it was too late to go back now. When I finally got home, exhaustion weighed heavily on me. I collapsed onto my bed, desperate to catch some sleep after the long night at the hotel. But sleep never comes easily after working the night shift. I tossed and turned, restless and unable to fully escape the haunting images of the night, the figure in the mirror, Ronald's strange appearance, and the voice in the room. I couldn't shake the feeling that something is seriously wrong, and that the hotel is somehow seeping into my mind. With little sleep to show for my efforts, I begrudgingly pulled myself up and got ready for another shift, bracing myself for whatever the night would throw my way. When I arrived at the hotel for my next shift, a note was waiting for me on the desk.
We would like to take a moment to address an important matter regarding your recent shift. It has come to our attention that the guest in room 309 did not experience the high level of service we strive to provide. As you know, adhering to our established rules and protocols is vital for ensuring an exceptional experience for our guests, safeguarding the esteemed reputation of the Arcadian Hotel, and maintaining your own safety. In the light of this, we would urge you to avoid the kitchen at all costs for the next 24 hours. Additionally, we are pleased to announce that the hotel will soon undergo renovations as part of our commitment to restoring the grandeur of the Arcadian Hotel. The Arcadian Hotel will be preparing for the new grand opening in the coming weeks. Thank you for your dedication to the legacy of the Arcadian management.
As I read through the letter, a surge of anger bubbled within me. It's just a damn ham sandwich. The implications of the note twisted my stomach into knots. What did they mean by my safety? Avoid the kitchen? Why? A wave of confusion washed over me as I replayed the last few nights in my head. The rules seemed increasingly strange, and their vague warnings started to feel more like threats than guidance. It felt like a game I was losing, like I was just a pawn in a strange, unsettling scheme. Every time I've been ready to quit, the money has made me hang on just a little longer, just enough to really make a difference in my life, to finally be ahead. Just as I was stewing in my frustration, Ronald shuffled in, back to his usual shabby self. His uniform was wrinkled and he moved with his familiar slow shuffle. For a fleeting moment, a wave of hope washed over me at the sight of him.
I'm here to clean the mess,
He said. His familiar routine felt like a comfort. Maybe tonight would be okay after all, I thought. As Ronald was getting his cleaning supplies ready, I finally worked up the courage to approach him. Hey Ronald, can I ask you something? What was with you last night? You seemed different. And what's the deal with all these rules? What are they really for? At my words, Ronald shot me a sharp look, his expression darkening.
Listen, kid.
He said, his voice low and serious.
You don't go looking for answers. You don't go asking questions. Just stick to your job, follow the rules, collect your money, and keep your head down. It's for your own good.
He quickly looked around, his eyes flickering with a hint of fear. He then turned away, leaving me with a knot of unease in my stomach and more questions. The rest of the night was spent behind my desk. All keys were accounted for. I avoided the kitchen, and nothing else strange happened. Another £500 in the bank. Another night down. Follow the rules, collect the money. And I thought I could handle it. The basement, the mirror, the strange noises. I thought I had dealt with the worst of it. That was... until last night.
Want more? Tune in next week for part 2 of the Arcadian Hotel.